Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, a good morning to you on this Tuesday, this wonderful morning. My name is Cutie Lady Josh, and on this social hour, I'm sitting in for Safina Cheng, who's away on a bit of leave. And as always, we always talk about the social issues that are affecting us. But before, first things first, I have to introduce my panel. Hi, Bobby.
Good morning.
How are you?
Salama sana.
Uko fiti?
I feel good. My week has started off very, very well. I'm happy. I'm excited. I'm relaxed. Always happy.
Dressed to kill as always.
Thank you.
Dressed to kill as always.
Lazima ni wa malo.
Vile inafaa. CJ, good morning to you.
Good morning, how are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
You owe someone a shirt. You look good in that shirt.
Oh,
yeah. Look
but
good.
you only remind me that on,
I will
set.
remind you.
You should remind me off set.
I'll do that.
Okay.
A very good morning to you guys. So today we're going to talk about divorce and children. This is something that, of course, is affecting most people out there in relationships, marriages. It's affecting people. Like, what happens when you separate, when you divorce, when there are indifferences, like when you cannot come to an agreement with someone, your spouse, your better half. So what happens? Who goes with the kids? You know, it's like, it's kind of obvious that it's the woman who is supposed to be the primary help for the kids. Like, it's always, people always assume like it's always the woman, but the debate is out there. Who is supposed to go out with who is supposed to go with the kids? Is it the man? Is it the woman? Is it a crime if the man goes with the kids, you know? And let me start with Bobby. Bobby, what do you
CJ
think?
is clapping.
Acha nianze na hii side.
Yeah.
Ndio tukifika kwa CJ kwa sasa mambo ni serious.
Okay.
But Bobby, time ya divorce, separation, unajua inafikanga mahali watu wanasema, okay, this is not working out. Nani anaendaga na watu? Like, it's out there. It's supposed to be the woman.
Yeah.
But who said it's supposed to be the woman? In some communities, men decide like, mtoi anafaa kuwa wetu. Huwezi enda na mtoi. Some men fight for their kids because at the end of the day, you know, if the person goes with the kids, you might not get a chance to see the kids. But how is it supposed to be? What do you think?
Wacha leo nipeane personal opinion, but I'm just doing.
Nautaki kuwa politically.
Wacha tu niseme what I feel in my heart.
Yes.
Unajua, na realize when we're asking this question, nobody really thinks about what the kids want. Nobody asks, are the kids comfortable? Are they feeling loved? Are they feeling like their parents are present? Are they well taken care of? Na feel easy custody battles zinaanzanga kukua mostly about feelings za wazazi. And I feel like when you become a parent, I know it's difficult, but this is why I say parenthood should really be intentional. When you become a parent, it's like you have to become this selfless person who is willing to put the kids' needs before your own selfish emotional needs. And I don't call them selfish kumaanisha ni mbaya. Your feelings could be very, very valid. But then I just feel like nobody asks, like, what about the well-being of the kids? Because when you put the kids first, then your decisions become better informed. You think about, are they eating well? Because kama dadi anaishi Runda na mama anaishi kwa kijiji, na watoi watapata maybe better education wakiwa Runda na dadi. Why don't we just say, like, yeah, that's a better environment, maybe that they'll have better access to better schools, they'll have better access to things like water, stigma, social stuff, you know. We just think maybe the guy will be like, watoto ni wa mama, awaachi huko kijiji. So unaona hapo hafikiri about the well-being of the kids. Na hii ni example tu, sisemi ati kijiji na Runda ni nini. But I think at the forefront, we need to think about what do these kids want? How are they going to be well protected, well taken care of? And also, when you're considering all these factors, who are the kids the most comfortable with? Who's the capable parent? Who's able to take care of the kids? Who's able to be present? And can we make it work? Because it's a co-parenting thing. It's not relationship isha sawa mi nawe tumeachana. Lakini watoi hawafai kufeel iyo divide because it really affects them. It really traumatizes them as they grow up. So I think whatever decision you make for yourself, any parent should be able to take care of their kid. Hakuna ati mtoto wa mama, mtoto wa baba. Kama mmepata watoto pamoja, all of you should be able and responsible to take care of these kids, emotionally, financially, in all sorts of ways. And if one person is not able to do such things, that's why you compromise. You say, me, I can't pick them up in the morning. Can you drop them off? I can't afford food. Can you pay school fees? Easy discussions too. The important to have. Even if we're angry at each other, the kids should never really have to bear like the brunt of feeling like they're unwanted or unloved. Pia back and forth. These kids, they see, and this is where we form our attachment styles from to our caregivers. You see, one parent was saying hawataki, mwingine anasema haiwezi, mwingine ha show up, mwingine anashindwa, mwingine you know, all these problems, they really affect our relationships the more we grow, and even into well into adulthood. So the first question, even before you ask who's going with the kids, are the kids comfortable? Are they loved? Will they be well taken care of? Are they going to be happy? Let's think about that first before we start fighting, because easy fights zinakwanga za kukasirisha the other person. True. Sometimes people go ahead with these custody battles, but it's not even about making sure the well-being of the kids is being sorted. It's about kukasirisha the other parent. Kunyima huyo parent mwingine access. People don't think that we need both daddy and mommy. Like, daddy is just as important as mom. When the male figure is not in the household, it is felt. When the mom is not in the home, it is felt. So we need both parents to work their dramas hapo katikati, wazieke kando kidogo, waseme let's focus on these kids because they deserve the best.
So, CJ, what I'm picking from Bobby is saying it should be about the kids. Like, are the kids comfortable? Are the kids okay? But sometimes I find it that the kids might be too young for you to actually make such a decision. And when the kids are young, can you be able as a man, can the men be able to take care of the kids the way women actually do it? Because for women, it's like a natural thing. We've grown up knowing like we are the mothers, we are the caregivers, we can do all that. But can a man really be able to take care of kids, especially when they're young?
Well, there are cases where men take care of kids, even when they're young. Even when mothers are present. Sometimes you find that the man has better skill, or he's more present, he's more available, or the children are even more attached to the parents. I know, I have a friend, I always call him a super dad, because he has these 3 kids and they were 1 year apart, each one of them, was it 3 or 4, and he would even bathe them. He would be the one who bathes them. When they're traveling on a flight, the kids would move to his side and they'd leave their mother there. And they don't hate the mom, they were very young, but they're just attached too because they were used to him doing everything. And he also got used to doing that. Then there are men also who are thrown into those situations sometimes because of things like the woman being incapacitated. And so they get used to taking care of a kid. It may be that a mother had complications after childbirth, and so the father steps up and gets used to doing that. Some of them, unfortunately, you find that a man has lost the wife when the children are very young, and they get to learn how to take care. So is it possible for men to do that? Yes. Generally, mostly circumstantially. In some cases, it's a choice. There are men who really love kids and adore kids, and you find that there are also ladies who, children are not their cup of tea. Even if they were there, they would prefer somebody else to take care. And so I think that men can do that if they learn, if they put their mind to it. It only becomes difficult when, you know, there are a lot of competing roles. Like if this person is trying to do other things elsewhere, and maybe then a man may not know how to balance out that as well as a woman would. I don't know how women would do that and how they do that. You know, she'll be able to go to work and come back and still be thinking about the house and manage that. Sometimes that may be difficult for a lot of men. But if it just comes to the issue of whether men can take care of children, they can.
Bobby, but I have a question. Women are getting, they always get so much backlash when you decide to leave the kids and go and say, okay, you take care of the kids. I know you guys are making it sound easy. Yes, men can take care of the kids, but it's always backlash. Like she's a bad mother. Who would do that? Why would she leave her kids, you know, and just walk away? It's always easy when the man is walking away, you know. He can just wake up and decide, you know what, I'm just leaving this house. The woman will take. But when the woman makes that choice, it becomes difficult, and there's a lot of backlash from, of course, the society, from everyone else. So what should a woman be able to do? Does she have the right to actually just walk away and say, you know what, I can also be able to walk away and just, you take care of the kids?
Unajua mimi na come from angle where naona parents wote wako very capable. So mama ki decide ku walk out ama sometimes as in easy issues ni vitu zina happen. Sometimes even the lady has to relocate for work and maybe they'll have to be separated from the family for a while. And there's so many capable men around. Like kwanza hii generation yetu ya saizi, the men are very present. They're trying to evolve. They're learning. They're very hands-on. They're very involved with their children's livelihood. They know everything about their kids, schools, nini. Hizo vitu maybe si tulipitia na buda zetu ama wazazi wetu alipitia na buda zao. Saizi, these guys are actually starting to step up and say, yo, I can do it. And even if they're not, even tu maybe hawakui broadcast as much. And then, yes, the backlash is always going to be there because socialization, the woman is taken as the default primary caregiver for the kids. And when she walks away, I think people get uncomfortable because they start to think, okay, how will the kids survive when mommy is not there? Because yes, the kids are very, very attached to the maternal parent. But then these things, and your situations are very different. Sometimes it's not even about divorce or walking away. Sometimes it's death that takes a parent away. Yeah. Sometimes it's work. Sometimes it's kuna external factors mingi. And now we're having to evolve and adapt and like grow into these roles and these spaces. So you can't really say a woman can't be away and a man can't take care of the kids. I feel like everyone can learn and everyone can do this. And with the backlash, listen, times are changing. It's time for us to start the way we are expecting women to have their own money and do their own things for themselves. It's okay to encourage the men to become nurturers because they can do it. It's not that they're incapable or I know it might be difficult because that's not how they're socialized, but they're learning. Sisi tumekuwa allowed kukuwa na bank accounts to juzi 1970s. And in that gap, women are now like bridging the gap between like in real estate, they're doing really, really well. Women are making so much money. Like women are really evolving in this space that we were never allowed to be in. So you can't really say ati now the men, ati now they're blind to ati nurturing their kids or taking care of their kids. Listen, they might not be getting broadcast as much, but the men in our circles, the men right now, they're very, very involved. And that's why you'll see them fighting for their spots to be there in the child's lives very, very presently. Kitambo watu wakiachana makosana ilikuwa tu, sawa wewe ishia na watoto ama yetu anajitoa peke yake anaenda. Saizi the men are like, no. I need to know, I need to be there, I need to be present, I need to be very, very involved. And it's such a lovely thing to see because it's starting to show that parents actually care about their kids. And even if your kid was not had intentionally, they shouldn't feel that gap. Like your gap haifai kuko hapo ati daddy hakutaki, mami hakutaki. So mimi hapa naweza peana hongera because honestly both genders are starting to evolve and adapt and the conversations we're having right now are very different from the ones our parents were having about kids. There's people who are still stuck in that mentality where, you know, watoto ni wa mama ama sometimes culturally, sometimes religion, sometimes just a social aspect. Watoto ni wa baba. Kuna cultures za ukienda enda bila watoto wako, watoto ni wa daddy. But it's when you start thinking about the well-being of the kids, you start to realize that this dividing thing, it really affects the children. And now it's time to just, instead of castigating people, instead of making people role play in their genders, it's time to just encourage. When you see someone is doing good, mpe hongera. If you see that lady, she's doing well, she's decided she wants to further her career, further her education, and her husband is willing and able to take care of the kids, encourage her. Don't be there telling her, unajua watoto watafanya nini. You just adapt according to the situation. Maybe they'll reunite in a minute. Maybe they'll fix. Maybe they'll see how to co-parent better. But mimi kitu yenye nataka tu ikuwe standard ni the well-being of the kids. Whatever you guys decide to do with your emotions and relationship, keep it at bay. And something I really, really appreciate, wacha nipe mamangu hongera since we're here. The parent who never makes you or shows you that the other parent is unavailable or is not there. it's also very important. Hata mkiachana, ukiwa na dadi hafai kukuonesha sijui mama kwa aje. Ama mkiwa na mama hafai kuonesha dadi hayuko ama dadi. That's why this co-parenting thing, you really have to put your ego aside. Hizo beef mko nazo mnazi squash, mnakuja pamoja mnasema, let's do this for the kids. Tutafight baadaye tukistep out of the house. We'll argue later. Not in front of them, not to show them there's problems. Just, you brought these kids here. They don't deserve to feel like there's too much stress and there's too much, you know, issues, because it really sticks with them for a long time.
Trudette, I like the way you're bringing in the aspect of the kids. We never really think about the kids, but the kids are important. And CJ, you know, we don't plan for divorces. We don't plan for separation. When we are starting to date and all this and get married, we are all excited, honeymoon stage and all that. So we don't really plan for divorces. But I think the big issue is we never really talk to the kids about the separation, about the divorce. So how can we start preparing the kids? Is it actually important to start preparing the kids to talk to them about the divorce that is coming, the issues that are coming, like this might not work out? Who is going with who where? Are you comfortable going with your dad? Do you want to live with us? How do we prepare the kids?
I want to weigh in a bit on what Bobby was talking about, just taking it back there. You know, one of the things that has happened over time and what we have called the empowerment of the woman has mostly gone towards the economic side. And generally, we normally pursue what we did not have. But the truth is, it has also come at a cost, that it has now affected mostly the social side as well. So I think for me, the finding the balance, where as much as we are empowering ourselves economically, we're not losing the social fabric as well. Because if we keep going like this, we're going to lose the unit of the family, generally. And no matter what society we are in, even the ones that are quite advanced, you will realize that how the family is will reflect on the nation's values. When they have a lot of broken families, they have more people in the police cells. They have higher levels of crime. They have higher levels of depression. They have higher levels of disease. So this is a unit that we cannot wish away. That as much as we are changing with time, there are certain basic fundamentals that should be kept right over there. So I'm still a believer in, can we work and keep the family together, no matter what is happening, so that a career, either for the man or the woman, should not be the reason why a family breaks. Because when you're coming into this, and it has been said, you're coming in consciously and you're coming in intentionally into this. You knew there would be a career, you knew there would be a business, but you still chose to get into this relationship. So you should have actually counted the cost and known that you can't have your cake and eat it. So if I've come into this, it means that I'll have to make certain sacrifices as well. Like, I can't wake up today and say I'm going to pursue my career and a door has opened up, so I leave next week and I have a family over here. That would be very selfish. What that does, Kitty, is it makes the children you're raising stop believing in love and family. Because, coming into your question as well, because if these children see that their parents cannot agree, first of all, they get hurt. They get hurt because they have a love relationship with both of you. So now they wonder why people they love and people who love them cannot agree. And this throws them into confusion. Like, what is it that you people cannot sort out? And most of the time when we're raising kids, we're teaching them values, we're teaching them forgive each other. You know, that's your sibling, that's your brother. You know, don't hold grudges against your brother, don't fight with your sister, don't do this. Then they're looking at you, the adults. And then you can't do what you're telling them. So this whole thing becomes a very broken picture. And sometimes, a lot of times rather, when you meet people who have grown up in families where the family broke, they're either very hesitant to get into a relationship, or when they get into it, they're just avoiding divorce. Like they want to make sure this will never happen to them. So as much as you think that it was your choice, you have affected the next generation in how they show up in love and something else. So for me, the first thing I would say is that parents need to do as much as they can to solve their issues. What are these irreconcilable things? if the ego is set aside, a lot of those things would actually be solved. But you will find that there's either unwillingness, or there is what Bobby was talking about. We use kids as a pawn. So you want to hurt the other person using the kids. You feel that you are so hurt that you will pull moves to hurt them back. And so now you're not even thinking about even the children as well. Or if you do, you take the children with you so that the other person can feel the pain and miss you. Most of those things is because the adults have refused to grow up.
Yes.
So we are not communicating properly. We don't want to forgive. We don't want to iron out issues. We are not addressing the real issues. Then we begin to get caught up in the emotions of it. A lot of times, the things that cause those separations are not even the first issue. It will be the secondary and the tertiary issues that have come in. How I felt, how you made me feel, and it's not the real issue. It may have started with a breakdown of communication, then somebody gets upset, then this anger becomes the focus, then the other person has a reaction. So by the time people are going apart, they're not even dealing with the real issue that brought them there first. And a lot of times, again, we don't really seek help to get help. Somebody has a mind and a mindset they already fixed on what they need to do. If I come into a marriage and I say the day, you know those deal breakers?
Yeah.
You got to really be careful about our deal breakers. On a serious note, because if I come in and say, the day a woman will do this, that's the end of it.
Yeah.
They're human, and they may do that without even having the intention to do it. So I may have come from a certain background and say, a lady cannot raise her voice against me. The day she raises her voice, she goes out. Then one day she has a lot of pressure from everywhere and finds herself raising her voice. But in me, that was my deal breaker. So I'm like, she raised her voice out through the door.
I'm leaving.
So we don't really work out much. There are cases where people, will say they've tried, and you find there's either an unwilling partner or a partner who's not willing to work out things, either in terms of addressing the issues that have been brought up or working on themselves to change in a certain way because they've broken some basic expectations. But I do believe, Kitty, before we even think about all the other stuff, it is very, very possible and very important for the two not to be taking the door as their first option. Yeah.
I love what CJ is saying. Like, we should just decide to keep our issues if we can work it out. And most of the time, it's about pride. It's about, ego, careers. I love the way you've really highlighted it. But Roberta, when push comes to shove, sometimes it's inevitable, At the end of the day, some things need to happen. Nature takes its course, So when push comes to shove, what happens to the kids? People just separate and don't even tell the kids about the separation, about the divorce. I'm really worried about that because we don't want to have these hard conversations with our kids. Mzetu anaamka, amepack, ameenda. Watoto wanaanza kuuliza, dadi alienda wapi? Ametravel, aliendea maziwa, ama ameenda, ametoka nje nchi kidogo atarudi. But at the end of the day, are we hurting the kids more if we don't tell them the truth, or are we actually protecting the kids?
I think it's swali ingeendea mzazi.
It was mine. Can I try it?
Yeah.
Why people do that is because they think that kids can't handle certain levels of information.
Yeah.
Which is what happens even with things like grief, even a loss. When they're communicating to a child, they don't know how that child will process that. But you see children normally pick up things as well. Yes. So even before you communicate that we're no longer together, they've picked up.
Yes.
A child can tell you what they were experiencing while they were 3. By the time they get to 30 now, they can verbalize it. The fact that they couldn't verbalize it at 3 did not mean that they did not see it, they did not perceive it. So mostly it is people not knowing how to pass on this information to the child, and because they don't know whether the child would handle it. And sometimes even they know that they cannot answer the questions that the child would ask. Because if a child would ask you, why can't you forgive each other? Because children have very simple, direct, and innocent questions. Then you say, like, you will not understand because you're a kid. That is an insult to kids. It is up to you now to make them understand. If you can't explain it to a child, it is not valid.
Yes.
in teaching or communicating, you need to communicate in a way that a child can understand.
Basic.
Yeah.
So if I'm saying that you cannot understand because you're a child, what is it? What is it that this child cannot understand? Break it down. Break it down. We break down biology to children. We have a simple diagram of food coming through the mouth and then one long pipe and then it falls into the stomach. Break it down in that simple way. If it is really valid, then walk them through the process, because they will go through a grieving moment. They will. And you cannot tell how that thing will be. You can't really tell. I have my sister's daughter. When the mother passed, she was about 7, and at 12, she suffered a mild stroke. And when she was taken in, when we took her to a counselor, the counselor pointed it back to the mother's death. And we had not had that conversation. Every test was done, in different places, and they couldn't find anything. Then she's in a room with a counselor, and then the counselor pointed back. We had not even told the counselor that. So sometimes we think that, these kids will just adapt, adjust, and grow. Some of the people you see as angry adults are stuck at things that happened that were never explained, separations that were sudden, and we wonder why this person is always angry, this person is always upset with people, this person is socially awkward. But there are things that happen to them that were not explained. So you have to take this person through a process, like, this is going to happen, and this is what is going to happen to you. I may not be present, or daddy or mommy will not be present for a while. And we are trying to work out things as they are right now. Things are not very easy. So and so will be with you, but you can reach us here. We're both working out to make sure you will be fine. There needs to be a certain form of closure. You see, when we talk about the death of a parent, I think that at some point it is easier to handle because there is closure. They can actually see a body that is over there, and they know this person died. It is explainable. But they are seeing this other parent is in another town. Why are they not coming back? And why is this not being explained? And when will they come back? Will they ever come back? Why do we go to the other side? So, and then one day they wake up and find that parent is with somebody else, this parent is with somebody else. That's a lot of confusion. Explain it. Break it down. Talk about it. And this is where you've got to sacrifice your egos. Don't even jump into another relationship before you have taken your children through the process. Because, as we've said, these kids didn't bring themselves here. And if you brought them in, you bear a certain level of responsibility.
Wow, well answered.
Yeah.
I think
better than I would have said.
I'm also in class. Class is in session on Citizen TV.
Can I just reiterate? I love that CJ said sometimes by the way ukiongea na wase utarealize most people adults who are still very angry, they really are stuck at the age where they were traumatized, where something very traumatic happened to them. And the questions they have, even to their parents, is, and they can't ask. Most of us, our age, Kwanzaa, they don't have the confidence or the space to be able to ask, Mom, when I was 16 years old, you did this. Daddy, when I was 9, you did this to me. You told me this. Because Kenya tena sija amesema, we don't respect children. We don't understand that they're very, very intelligent. They're very smart. They pick up things. They can read vibes. They can read moods. They can see you in the house, how you're acting. Hivyo vile unamwambia tena example sija amepeana ati, don't fight with your brother, then you and daddy are not talking. It's kind of mixed signals. I don't get what message you're passing, but it's actually really important to understand that your kids have autonomy of decisions, personality, of even vocalizing. Yes, mtoto anaweza kuwa mdogo sana, but you can be able to even see how they engage with which parent. You're able to tell, and you should have these conversations with the person, with your partner. You should be able to tell them, QT, I know you love the kids and you're so present, but this boy I'm really present and he loves me. Let me just be the primary. You see fight, you have access, you can see him anytime. Na wewe saizi uko chuo. Hauta handle, itabidi uhaya nani. Mimi juu naeza, si mimi nikae tu na watoto. Such conversations are things we need to allow for. And also something I want to insist on is, then all this comes back to communication. the parents need to teach themselves to communicate. Teachers, because the reason hata hiyo swali nimeshindwa kujibu ni kwa sababu nilikuwa na try to figure out how but CJ may explain. It's just about if you know how to communicate yourself, then teaching your kids and breaking down information into bite-sized pieces that they can consume, it makes a lot of difference. Don't assume that that kid, because he's a very quiet child, anajifungianga kwa room, ama kwa sababu ni very intelligent, anashindanga kwa books, ati huyo mtoto haoni. Most of the things, even from my childhood, I remember when I was 8 years old, I remember when I was 7 years old. We just assume it's like those things are not important, but these things affect us. You're in therapy at 30, at 28, you're unpacking things and you realize, yani bado umekasirikia mamako juu ya vitu zilifanyika 20 years ago, things that even if you bring it up, your parents might say, no, I didn't do that. I can't remember, because they don't even have that memory, or because they don't think it was that serious to you. So this shows that we need to start taking children's feelings very, very seriously, taking their words, whatever they say, whatever they show us, to give them the space. Because if we allow them if we talk to them and show them it's okay to speak, it also brings them out of their shells. It brings them out of their cocoons, and it gives them the confidence to be able to say, this is how I feel, this is how this made me feel, this is what I want. Because imagine getting a stroke at 12 because of something so horrific that happened to you 5 years ago, and no one had the maybe awareness to be able to bring it up as a topic. Nobody knew how to talk to you. It's not even ati the parents had a problem or anything. It's just sometimes we're not aware. Hatuna hiyo awareness. Hatujui this is how you handle this situation, because it's happening to you for the first time and you're not that aware of how to handle. So then instead, so that we don't give any more reasons or justifications, now that we know, moving forward, even me now I've been challenged, moving forward, it's showing the communication skills I have, they affect everyone around me. True. It's not just a me thing. I could decide I don't want to talk or I don't know how to talk, but then it'll affect my parents, my friends, my partner, my children, everything that's around me. When you become better equipped with how to handle and manage your emotions, how to communicate your feelings, you pass it on to the next people. And I think it's such a beautiful thing when you see your kids feel free to be able to come to you and say, Daddy, this is how I really, really feel. I think it's something we need to encourage more of. And even the parents, leo nimesema si castigate mtu. So parents, it's okay, we didn't know better, we're all learning on the job. You know, even my mom has never been a parent to a 28-year-old kid. This is the first time she's doing this. And I see her growth. I see how she's consistently teaching herself. Squeezy hata, the reasons we don't have arguments is because our communication is improved. We're able to have grown-up conversations. I'm able to tell her, Mom, I don't like what you said. And she apologizes. And it makes me feel so validated and so loved and so understood. And you know, our parents, they see us as babies forever. They never really see you as an adult. And even me, when I look at her, I feel so loved and cared for when I tell her things and she accommodates my emotions. So please, parents, let's just do better at communicating. It's affecting our kids, and we don't want kids who are unable to communicate, because even later on in life, it locks them from opportunities where they need to be confident. Wewe ulikuwa una suppress mtoto wako kwa keja, ama haumwalao, ama tu, hata saa ingine it's not at intentional, we just don't know that kids can see and that they can feel and that they can understand. So we just assume when she's older, we'll talk about it. So break down the communication into things that, like information that is palatable to them. Talk to them the way we talk about. I like that he gave the example of grief. Things like grief, sometimes financial situations. You're not supposed to show your kids you're having financial issues, but then these are normal conversations we should have. Tusikwe tunafika, si wengi wetu tumefika 25 ndo tunajua, finances, grief, sijui nini, tunaanza kunavigate saizi. And I feel like if it's conversations that we made very normal, we talked about these things and made them, we show the kids that it's things that happen in society and it's okay. It becomes easier for them to become adults who are better at communicating and better at managing their emotions when they go through these things.
True that. And Now that we're talking about breaking it down to the kids, communication, talking to the kids and all that, is it okay to tell the kids if it was a toxic relationship? For example, if I was going through violence and all that, is it okay to tell my kids that your dad was violent, your dad was toxic, like I could not be able to handle your dad and all that? Is it okay to actually communicate that to the kids?
You see, I said you break it down at a level they can understand. Remember, they have a relationship with this person. So you also have to check out on the information that you're giving, especially depending on the levels of attachment as well. If it is something that is very visible, because you find some people in that physical violence, they do it even in front of the kids, then it is a very general thing, probably easier for them to process because they're already going through it and it is traumatic. If it is something that was hidden, then you can still find a way to break it down. And if sometimes you don't know how, you can find somebody who is close to you and close to them, either close relative or somebody that they respect, who is able to explain this to them in a way that will be objective, but still will pass the message on. And then allow them to be processing that and to ask questions so that they have a certain level of understanding, you know, because you may find the conflict being that this person is toxic to you, but not to the kids. So when you're explaining that this person is, I'm leaving your mom or your dad because they're toxic, the kids cannot reconcile that because the person they know is a very different person. So you bringing that confuses them completely. And generally you may find that even the person you're talking about really shows up for them. And so now you cannot completely cut this person off. It would be unfair. So there needs to be tact in that. What can they consume? What should they know? What do they even know? Sometimes you need to start with try to find out what they know about that situation and how they feel about that situation. If you can do it directly, again, you may have your close family or you may have people who are close to them who can begin to have those conversations. Because again, we can't assume that every parent would be a good communicator at some things. So you may need to have somebody who would take them through that. If this is an inevitable situation, you probably then need to bring in even a counselor that would take them through. It may need to be a school counselor. It may need to be somebody in a church. It may need to be a very close relative. But the thing is, there must be intentionality. And then this information should be in a way that the child will make objective decisions, that they will see the picture in a clearer manner, so that I'm not trying to paint the other person badly so that I may score. But I am in a situation that I may not be, I would not want to be in. Yet this kid still needs to have the other person. So I need to find a way, how do we keep that relationship with that other person, with a kid, while I am getting out, without the child getting confused about the picture that we're trying to paint. Otherwise, sometimes they may also think that you are trying to paint the other person badly. There have been cases like that, where kids will grow up and will feel like either their dad misrepresented their mom or their mom misrepresented their dad. So they get very angry. At an older age, they cut off the other parent who thought that they had good intentions. So now they move, they swing the pendulum from being attached to this one to the other one. They cut off this other one, which is not healthy at all, again. And they may go for 10, 15 years without talking to either of the parents in their adulthood because they feel the adult robbed them of a certain resource, and that was the other parent. So it's a very delicate thing, Kitty. And I think that if we're really getting to the place where now this thing is going to be that weighty, we may need to seek professional help as well, especially for the children, so that we get to know what should we say, how much should we say, and what do we do. But I'll go back to where we started, that if we work on our feelings, our emotions, our personalities, and think about what we got into in the first place, and that now there are other people in here, Because what is this that would make me toxic to my wife and not to my kids? It means I can actually control the toxicity. If I'm toxic to everybody, then I can say, well, this is who I am, and I still can get help. But when this is selective toxicity, then it means I can do something about it.
Wow.
And that then means we can seek help. We can talk about these issues. I need to bring out the things that bring me to the place where I am acting the way I am acting. Is it my insecurities, my fears? Do I feel that I'm misunderstood or not heard, not respected, not loved, and not appreciated? Is there something that is underlying? Do I have expectations that have not been met, expectations that have not spoken? Is there something that this toxicity is feeding from?
Yeah.
Is it camouflaging something else that I've not communicated with this person? Is it external influence? Did I come into this and I'm reading stuff online on how to treat the other gender? You see all these memes about the other gender, they're causing a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
These things are causing a lot of trouble in relationships, and we will get to a very bad place, Kitty, and I tell you this for a fact, that we will get to a very bad place when we see all these shootings and knives in the schools in the United States. Those are broken family systems. And so now 9-year-olds will come in and shoot their fellow 9-year-olds and 10-year-olds. And how many cases do we have and incidences do we have of guns at schools, and not with adults, people coming in with knives? Why are these kids so angry to the point that they will come and kill 10 or 20 or shoot 50 or stuff like that? If we are not watchful, this is where we will be in the next 30 years. We will be having kids who are going out who are angry because they don't believe in dialogue. They don't believe that you can be heard. They don't believe in love. They don't believe that two people can coexist, and they don't believe that you can have systems of resolving conflict. So when you're angry, do whatever you want, because their parents showed them that you can wake up any day and do whatever makes you happy.
Wow, something that I picked from that is that conversation is that you might be toxic to your partner, but you're not toxic to your kids. You know, that is something maybe someone should borrow from this conversation. Maybe, Bobby, as we are wrapping up, what's your take home about this conversation?
We don't talk a lot about the family unit. Today, CJ, when he was bringing it up, I've realized we don't really encourage people to fix their relationships by fixing themselves, and it's actually important. Now I'm starting to see. When we started when I came after CJ, mi nilikuwa mi ndaishia, but he managed to teach me how to come to this other side where there should be space for dialogue, there should be room for improvement. And hizo tu venye tumesema, sometimes you have a deal breaker, but then it's something you can work through. It's something you can talk about. It's something you can always work on. And we're not even saying that you work for the kids. It's for you before it's for anyone else. Because like we said, if you work on yourself, it affects everyone around you. If I'm good at communicating, then everyone is going to enjoy my great communication, from my mom to my kids. And yeah, let's love each other. Hakuna haja ya beef na kukosana. Hata kama tumekosana kwa relationships, let's remember to be mindful when it comes to the kids, so that we give them a space to see that love is very possible. Love is fixing relationships, working things out together, dialogue, mediation, all these things are very important. Not just in your romantic relationships, even with your friends. Best yako akikosea once unamwacha. Mbona hatuna hiyo grace kwa relationships ya kusikizana na work things out na kukuwa kind? Let's do it so that these kids, because they're always watching, they're always seeing. Like we said, they're very, very intelligent. They pick things up very, very quick. Let's be models for them and show them that relationships really, really work and things can always get better. Yeah. Wow.
But I love the conversation. We can keep it going on our social media pages.
Can I say something just in 30 seconds? Because this happens a lot. It can happen to anybody, but this happens a lot. We need to stop lying to ourselves that if QT leaves this relationship, she's got into the next one, she's so happy.
Yes.
Because that's the picture people try to paint.
Yeah.
So you want to get to your ex through your current status. Yeah. Every relationship will require work. Every single relationship. Because now when you do that, then Bobby also thinks, oh, I can actually leave this and get back. You know this stuff. So I'm also thinking, you can actually leave this and get to the next one. every relationship will require work. So that if you don't work it in the second, you'll find yourself in the fifth. Right.
With the same issues.
Yeah, true that.
Right.
Put in the work, put in the sacrifice. Let's not raise broken homes. Let's not raise broken kids, because the trauma will be seen in other situations. Follow at CJ Atem on all social media pages. Roberta, Bobby, Cutie Lady Josh. Big up Safin. Enjoy your leave, enjoy your rest. Big up Mr. Josh. We'll see you next week. Have a lovely day ahead.